Hey Creagears, Robo here and welcome back to the fourth video in our Splatoon 3 series. And this time it's finally the turn for the weapon replica to shine with a replica of the Splatbow from the Splatoon 3 trailers. Let's get started quickly because this is gonna be a long one. The first wing we're starting with is a 50cm piece of poster tube with a 10cm diameter. We had these laying around at the workshop on campus for refilling the printer, so we were able to take a 1 meter piece with us. Next, we work on the long list of pieces that we need to cut out from wood. For the 24mm MDF, we need to cut two 15cm circles for the handle and the two accessory clips, and two 10cm circles we need for the spools on the arms. Next, we need to cut some 6mm plywood for 20cm circle, cut in half with an extension of 1.5 cm added to the cut side, or just this shape. For the arms, we first need to make the pattern which we are tracing 2 times onto some 6mm plywood. After which we cut the pattern to make an offset to get the 4mm edges that we need to cut out 4 times. After these are traced, we can start our first batch of wood to cut, starting with the 20cm circles with their extensions. All the MDF pieces with the accessory clip for the main tube. And the arms, including the edges. After cutting, we need to give these pieces a quick sanding. Before we continue by first gluing the 4mm edges onto the 6mm base to make the arms. Then we need to work the MDF pieces using the sander, cleaning up the edges and giving the 15cm pieces and the handle rounded edges. And while we're at it, we can also use it to give the 20cm circles a nice clean edge. After sanding, we make a little hole into the 15cm pieces to make the circle, which we need to cut out with a router to make the channel where the tube will be inserted. To make this fit, we measure the outside diameter of the tube. After routing, we can go right back to sanding and rounding up the edges. Finally, we need to make a 5/8 hole in the middle of one of the 15cm circles. This will be the end where the handle will be attached using, you guessed it, a 5/8 PVC pipe. And to finish off the pull system, we only need a 10cm circle for the inside of the tube to attach the PVC pipe to the end. which also needs a 5/8 hole. So back to the step bit. Luckily this also doesn't drill completely through the 6mm wood, so we actually get a little blockade at the end to attach the PVC pipe to. Finally we glue 2 layers of 24mm MDF together to cut into the handle of the bow. This will then be cut in half with the curvature matching to a piece of 7x44 by 2500mm pine wood, which will be the base for the bow. This piece we've got to be 2200mm instead of the full 2500 and bent it to be around 1.8 meters high. The resulting curve we used for the split in the handle. But back to the handle, after cutting it out we still need to put it through the sander to make the shape more ergodynamic. For which we also use some double-sided tape to hold the 2 halves together to get a matching shape. Just look at that mess. It took all morning to clean the whole workshop from all the dust. Then we can finally glue and drill the handle to the bow with the top of the handle at the middle of the bow, pairing the reference material. Then to continue the assembly, we quarter the tube to get the opposite sides to attach the 2 accessory clips. Also marking out where they're supposed to start, since the tube will also fit into the channel of the MDF circles. But first we need to cover the ugly outside of the tube with some nice yellow craft paper. For this, make sure you get a piece that can cover the entire tube at once to get the cleanest result. Yuna, you were not supposed to tell that during the voiceovers! But after completely covering the tube, we can cut the paper to size and stick the final part on. In the meantime, we can drill an 8mm hole into the arm, 10cm MDF circle and the 2 halves of the 20cm circles. After which we can glue one of these halves to the arm with some wood glue and, using the nut and bolt, we create a makeshift clamp to hold the pieces in place and indirectly check the length of the bolts, since this has to be able to hold all the separate pieces. Then we only need to mirror this for both sides. While we're waiting on the tube, we can also glue the 35cm PVC pipe to the handle with its channel on the outside. At last, we can glue and drill the accessory clips to the tube. Together with the front piece, once you make sure you correctly install the clips. Then we need to start on the details of the replica. Starting simple with the main nozzle for the weapon, using foam board for a 5cm circle and a pattern for the truncated cone, linked in the description. using the edge of the table to shape the foam board nozzle and gluing the cone into shape. While the glue hardens, we can also attach the little filler circle on the inside. After all that is done, we can mark and glue it to the front of the tube, or main jet now I guess. Then we can use some washers and a nut and bolt to permanently attach the wooden pieces to the arm, also making it not too tight as to leave it to spin. After which we can start on the side jets. We start with a 30 by 25.5 cm piece to create an 8 cm wide cylinder, and an 8 by 28.5 cm piece for another 9 cm wide cylinder, a 8 cm wide circle to cap off the first cylinder, the side spout pattern piece, and not forgetting about the 5 cm cap for the inside. Which all need to be assembled and glued to each other. Next we can add the details to the side jets, starting with 2 of these arrows. Which we need to cut and curve to attach to the top of the jets. Placement of which actually dictates where the hole for the arm will be cut. Here we look to place one of the sides of the half circles at the furthest point of the arrow. This will also result in the location of the second arrow. Then, when both arrows are on, we can use an X-Acto knife to cut out the slot where the arm is going to fit. After we cut the slots correctly, we can glue in the arm, making it so the line of the half circles is on the outside of the main cylinder. And for the final details of the side jets, we take 6 popsicle sticks and cut these in half, after which we send the rounded ends back to make the same type of stick, only half as long. Then we attach these onto the end cylinder on the side jets, spacing them out so all 12 are equal. With both side jets done, we can now cut a matching hole for the base of the arm into the tube, and using some wood glue and screws, we can attach the side jets to the accessory clip. Then the only thing left to completely make is the reel. Starting by cutting out all 3 pieces of the reel patterns. Next, retrace and cut these out from some foam board with one 9cm, one 14cm and two 16cm circles. Then we assemble these parts with the 9cm circle and the top spool, only missing this part which needs to be cut from some 2mm EVA foam. Next, the 14cm circle is attached to the top platform cones, which also needs to get the top spool afterwards, making the top of the reel. And after assembling the two 16cm circles with a spacer of 2cm between the bottom plateau cones and a 14cm wide 12cm high cylinder, we have all the parts of the reel. Yeah, we still need to cut out the arms, so we need to cut out the middle of the bottom for 4cm and cut this pattern from some more foam board. Then we cut off its sides at 45° angles and do the same for a few 4cm wide strips. Then we measure, cut and glue out the angled sides to build up the base of the arms. But before we can attach the other side, we need to screw this attachment through the bottom. Then we can glue on the final side. And it's matching half from the bottom. All that's left now is to make those cylinders at the end. By making a cylinder 6cm wide and 8cm tall, we get that final piece. With a 4cm EVA foam circle cut into thirds and spaced out over a 5cm wide circle on the sides. For the final detail, we need some aluminum foil and painter's tape to make a pattern for the silver covers on the handles of the bow. These patterns are then flattened and traced back onto some EVA foam. But only to save time. We designed these clips to go on the ends and in between on the bow, to hold the string. But with more time you can also make these out of wood. We will leave the files with the patterns in the description so you can get the exact sizes and make or even print them yourself if you want to make some. But these prints are sanded and afterwards glued and drilled onto the bow. Finally, we can start to paint. But the first thing that needs a different color is actually the rope that we're going to use on the bow. This needs to go from a white to a yellow, so we follow the instructions on this synthetic dye to get the desired outcome. Using 3 liters of water, a teaspoon of soap and the yellow dye, we leave the rope for 45 minutes to get this nice yellow wire. But this boiling time was actually when we went over the top and bottom of the reel with some black acrylic primer. Same as with the end of the handle and all of the metal parts of the jet. Next, these all receive a coat of black spray paint. But for the jet it's a matte, while for the real parts we use a gloss. This is to get a better finish on the silver. Which now only needs this custom metallic grey over the circles on the sides of the arms. And the lower part on the top. The same color we then thinned and put for our airbrush. Don't worry, you don't need an airbrush for this phase. This was again to make the process just a little bit quicker for us, but the same result can be achieved using just a brush.
Feel ready!
Then, while that's drying with its second coat, we can paint the middle part of the reel a nice bright yellow, which we then need to cover using the leftover string from the spool, which we don't need for the bow or the jets. Yeah, a mistake on our part. Then we can go back to using the silver paint for the clips on the bow. Which can be removed afterwards. Then we drill a hole in both ends of the handle and screw in a loop, which will be the start and end of the wire on the bow. After these are installed, we can cover the pine wood on the bow with a nice stain, making sure to get even coverage. After the stain has dried, we can go over the handle with a brown, serving as a base for the wrap we're going to be doing with this brown band. And after the wire is spun onto the bow, we can glue on the foam for the metal wraps. But these now look nothing like metal, so we need to go over them with a coat of silver paint. Now that the bow is finished, we can go back to the jets, which, after having received their first coating, can get their covers removed. Yeah, a literal 1.5 hours of masking each time. Yeah, one of the many reasons why this project took a week longer than expected. But it does deliver a nice result. After which we can start on the final assembly. Then we glue a piece of felt onto the hole of the handle to protect the paint on the PVC pipe. and so we can finally attach other parts of the handle.
Proppy.
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
Then we glue on the wire for the jets. And after attaching the reel to the front of the bow and those in turn to the jets with 3 long screws, all we need to do is to attach the back and the handle with some more screws. And to glue and spin the wire around the arms. And with the long process done, we can finally announce the Splatoon 3 Splat-bow replica done.